This week on Ignition, we're driving the Rolls-Royce Phantom II Drophead Coupe. Carlos Lago, our regular host, is away this week, and so the duties have been left to me. And that's just as well, because Carlos is a guy, quite frankly, who wears t-shirts and jeans, and he talks a bit too much about launch control and cars that are very, very fast, that produce big numbers. This car produces one big number, its price. $517,000. Now, unlike Carlos, I have the proper credentials for a car like this. What are they? I've got a collar on my shirt. That's very important. Another is I have a proper cap. This one, no. This one. So how does it drive? Well, the first thing you need to know is that this is a very big car, and it feels like it. It weighs about 5,800 pounds, and given that it's fundamentally made out of aluminum, almost entirely aluminum, there's a lot of structure here. So despite being an open car, it's very, very solid. I don't feel a wiggle or a vibration anywhere in this chassis. Really an impressive chunk. It feels like a train, a locomotive. The engine powering this car is a BMW-based 6.75 liter V12. It's a big engine, smaller in displacement than the 760 BMW it can be found in otherwise, normally aspirated in this case. There's 531 pound-feet, a lot of power, but a lot more weight. So its acceleration is brisk, is appropriate, not fast. But who wants to be fast in a Rolls-Royce anyway? It's coupled to an 8-speed automatic transmission. The gear shifts, quite frankly, are invisible. You don't detect them at all. It is just a smooth, languid motion. Partly that weight, the sheer inertia of the car is masking that, I suspect. Again, it feels very, very solid. Real solid chunk of a car. I mean, really, I hardly driven a more solid feeling car. And the odd part is it's an open car, which ought to have problems with solidity. The ride quality of this car, Rolls-Royce describes as lowering the pulse, where other cars are always striving to raise your pulse, make you more excited behind the wheel. The ride of this is to lower it, to let you contemplate your riches and your wealth and your success. It really is very, very smooth. I do feel motions. It does move around, bound a little bit, but there really is a wonderful, exquisite quality to it, where they don't feel like bumps at all. They feel like the world below you is being flattened occasionally as you roll over it. There's a compromise between the car and the earth. So it's a lovely feeling. That right there, for instance. The brakes, let me try them. That's not a hard stop, but who would stop hard in a Rolls-Royce? Not much feeling to it. But it worked well. Stopped the car. That's pretty good. The handling is the wrong word. This car doesn't handle. It tacks, it jives. It's a bit of a process. You turn the wheel, and the giant inertia of the car is delivered the message, and the little engineers down there begin turning valves, and slowly the great vessel begins to rotate in the ocean. It's an interesting experience. It's not a driver's car one bit, but it's fun. It's interesting. You know, with the top up earlier driving this car, I wasn't so sure about it, but with the top down now, you look at this dash, you look at this wood, it's gorgeous. You look at that flying lady up ahead and the meaning and the symbolism of it all. This car is huge and wonderful and magnificent, and it makes me happy. I'm happy here. $517,000, that's a lot of money. It's also the price of my house, more or less. But I could live in this car. It does have good curb appeal. Let's consider it. And here we have the sitting room. Lovely appointments, a very comfortable chair, it reclines, couldn't be better, place to put the drinks, a beautiful view, I like that feature. And also there's some obstruction here in case you want some privacy. Back here is the kids' room. There's 2 seats. That's perfect for them. Enough room. They're small, but watch the crayons. And here we have a beautiful teak deck. It's not that large. The furniture will have to be small, but we can make do. And back here we have the garage. Again, not the biggest garage in the world, but there's enough room for the Christmas ornaments and all that sort of stuff. And then there's also a sun deck. And here we have a parlor for my wife. Very nice, plenty of room. Also, a closet for the clothes and a place for the shoes. And best of all, we have a lawn gnome. Of course, it's actually the Rolls-Royce Flying Lady, which begs a bigger question. Are these BMW designed and built Rolls-Royces actually Rolls-Royces? So the Phantom is hideously expensive and preceded by a proper Flying Lady statuette. But is it really a Rolls-Royce? To get a second opinion about this genuine Rolls thing, we visited Neil Kirkham, expert restorer and expert on all things Rolls-Royce. Amongst his credentials is this 1931 Phantom IIe reconstructed, including its nicely stocked front and rear bars. And it's no mere Phantom II. It's the actual yellow Rolls-Royce that starred in the 1964 movie of the same name. Do the names Rex Harrison or Ingrid Bergman or George C. Scott ring any bells? Well, go ask your parents. So here we are. We brought this car up to you today to check it out, and we've had a chance to look at your car and investigate it and look at your photographs. And what's your first reaction looking at this car, the Phantom II Drophead Coupe?
Well, it's imposing, and it sets itself apart from other cars.
And how do you feel about, is it really a Rolls-Royce? I mean, do you have an impression of amongst your peers or yourself as to whether this really is recognized and regarded as a true Rolls-Royce, a continuation of the heritage that car has, or is it, breed apart?
Well, to folks that are in love with old cars, it's a world apart.
Yeah.
And this design was so unusual amongst the other cars of its design time. And it had to have been deliberate to set this car apart from everything else, and they succeeded.
There's nothing like this in the market today. I mean, absolutely nothing. I mean, maybe the Maybach, which is going away.
Right.
But once that's gone, I mean, really what's left that...
Just the Bentley, as far as I know.
Well, but even the Bentley, even the Mulsanne, fantastic car. I mean, really a fantastic car. But just the sheer imposing mass and look of this thing nothing makes an impact quite like this, does it?
That's correct. Yeah. Much more so than the Bentley, which is more streamlined and
it's a bit subtler.
Aerodynamic.
It's a bit subtler car.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, what is a Rolls-Royce?
Phew. I
should know.
Have a good answer to that question. It's they set themselves apart by design and quality, and performance is always excellent.
Neil was a little evasive, so I'll ask it again. Is this car's Flying Lady affixed to a pure-blood Rolls-Royce, or BMW's most expensive whale-scale ragtop? After a few miles behind the wheel, it's a question mark that dissolves in the car's rearview mirror like brie with wine. The Drophead feels magisterial, it moves regally, and altogether convincingly like a Rolls-Royce. Before getting in, I worried that with this Phantom Fantastic, Rolls had descended into a frivolous bling toy for hip-hop artists, or worse, NBA players. Well, they'll like it plenty. But so do I. After you become accustomed to all those eyeballs continuously watching you, you realize that the Drophead Coupe is powerfully addictive to drive. To drive? Let me explain. When Rolls designed this car, and specifically its teak decking, they visited the famous J-Class America's Cup yacht, Shamrock, for inspiration. And there we detect this car's central addictiveness. Behind the wheel, you start to become Thomas Lipton, or Harold S. Vanderbilt, at the helm of a massive sloop. Sails full, the sky bright, the wind solid at your back. And all those cars crowding the road ahead, mere whitecaps, to be split apart as you broad reach across the asphalt sea. Is this a BMW? Or is it a Rolls-Royce?
It doesn't really matter.